Hello everyone, welcome back to Wade's Movie World. And today, this is going to be a very special video. I'm doing my best movies of the decade video. So that's what this video is going to be all about. To start off, I'm going to start with some honorable mentions, and we're going to get started with them right now. So without further ado, here are my honorable mentions for the decade 2010 to 2019. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. This movie came out on December 18th, 2015. It is directed by J.J. Abrams. It stars Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Daisy Ridley, Peter Mayhew, Anthony Daniels, Oscar Isaac, and John Boyega. It is the seventh movie in the Star Wars saga and the start of the sequel trilogy, and it continues the Skywalker saga. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This film came out on December 20th, 2019. It is directed by J.J. Abrams. The film stars Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Daisy Ridley, Kerry Russell, Anthony Daniels, Oscar Isaac, and John Boyega. This film is the ninth movie in the Star Wars saga, and it is the conclusion of the sequel trilogy, and it also concludes the Skywalker story. The Conjuring. This movie came out on July 19th, 2013. It is directed by James Wan. The film stars Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Sterling Jerrins, Joey King, Ron Livingston, and Lily Taylor. This film is based on a true story of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who work to help a family terrorized by a dark presence in their farmhouse. Annabelle Creation. This film came out on August 11th, 2017. It is directed by David F. Sandberg. The film stars Anthony LaPaglia, Miranda Otto, Stephanie Sigmund, Mark Bramhall, Lulu Wilson, and Talitha Bateman. The film is about a dollmaker and his wife who welcome a nun and several girls from a shuttered orphanage into their home, where they become the target of the dollmaker's possessed creation, Annabelle. Aquaman. This film came out on December 21st, 2018. It is directed by James Wan. The film stars Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Dolph Lundgren, Nicole Kidman, Patrick Wilson, Willem Dafoe, and Tamira Morrison. Arthur Curry, the human-born heir to the underwater kingdom of Atlantis, goes on a quest to prevent a war between the worlds of the ocean and the land. Shazam! This film came out on April 5th, 2019. It is directed by David F. Sandberg. It stars Zachary Levi, Asher Angel, Mark Strong, John Glover, Jack Dylan Grazer, Digimon Husao, Ian Chin, and Faith Herman. A young foster kid by the name of Billy Batson gets magical powers from an ancient wizard. All he has to do is say the magic word, Shazam. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman came out on June 2nd, 2017. The film is directed by Patty Jenkins. It stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright, Ewan Bremer, Danny Houston, Eugene Braverock, and Lily Aspel. When a pilot crashes and tells of conflict in the outside world, Diana, an Amazon warrior in training, leaves home to fight a war discovering her full powers and true destiny. Iron Man 2 came out on May 7th, 2010. It is directed by Jon Favreau. It stars Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Jon Favreau, Mickey Rourke, Sam Rockwell, Scarlett Johansson, Don Cheadle, and Samuel L. Jackson. With the world now aware of his identity as Iron Man, Tony Stark must contend with both his declining health and a vengeful madman with ties to his father's legacy. Geostorm. Geostorm came out on October 7th, 2017. It is directed by Dean Devlin. The film stars Gerard Butler, Ed Harris, Andy Garcia, Talitha Bateman, Zazie Beetz, Jim Sturgis, Abby Cornish, and Daniel Wu. When the network of satellites designed to control global weather and climate is sabotaged to attack Earth, the creator must find a way to stop the attacks before Earth is wiped out. The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 2 came out on June 10th, 2016. It is directed by James Wan. The film stars Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Sterling Jerrins, Madison Wolfe, Francis O'Connor, Bob Adrian, and Bonnie Aarons. Ed and Lorraine Warren travel to North London to help a single mother raising 4 children alone in a house plagued by a supernatural spirit. Deepwater Horizon. This film came out on September 30th, 2016. It is directed by Peter Berg. It stars Mark Wahlberg, Kurt Russell, Kate Hudson, Stella Allen, Gina Rodriguez, and John Malkovich. It's based on the true story of the BP-owned Deepwater Horizon oil rig that exploded and spilled millions of gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico on April 20th, 2010. Gravity. Gravity came out on October 4th, 2013. It is directed by Alfonso Cuarón. The film stars George Clooney, Sandra Bullock, and Ed Harris. 2 astronauts work together to survive after an accident leaves them stranded in space. Patriots Day. Patriots Day came out on January 30th, 2017. It is directed by Peter Berg. It stars Mark Wahlberg, John Goodman, Kevin Bacon, Michelle Monaghan, Condi Alexander, Melissa Benoist, and J.K. Simmons. It is based on the true story of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing and the aftermath, which includes the citywide manhunt to find the terrorists responsible. The Young Messiah. This film came out on March 11th, 2016. This film is directed by Cyrus Naurasic. It stars Adam Greaves-Neal, Sean Bean, Jonathan Bailey, Rory Keenan, Sarah Lazaro, Vincent Walsh, and Agnes Scott. This film tells the story of Jesus Christ as a 7-year-old boy throughout his childhood. Okay, so this is it for my honorable mentions. Now, let's move on.
Today, New York. All right, let's get to work.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here are my best movies of the decade from 2010 to 2019. I'm starting off with the year 2010, and I had 4 movies in 2010. And those movies are Secretariat, The Expendables. Now, The Expendables is a movie I've been wanting to see for a long time happen, especially if you're a fan of all the action movies from the 80s. This movie has Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and just a whole lot of action and testosterone and just shoot 'em up, beat 'em up, good fun. Jason Statham is also in this movie, as well as Terry Crews and a few others. Dolph Lundgren as well. I mean, it's just one hell of a guy movie. Let's just put it that way. Toy Story 3. Now, Toy Story 3, I loved. Everything about it I love. I loved the first Toy Story. I loved the second Toy Story. But Toy Story 3 was very, very good and very, very emotional. Especially the end scene where we think that our beloved toy characters are about to die in this inferno. And man, my heart was full, and I wasn't crying heavy, but there was a lump in my throat, and I was about ready to cry when that scene was going on when I was watching that for the first time in the theater. I mean, it was just an emotional time. But the way it ended, I thought that they should have stopped with Toy Story 3 because it just wrapped everything up in a nice little bow. And I thought, okay, that's it. Toy Story's done, and it was great. How to Train Your Dragon. Now, I wasn't very familiar with this movie when it first came out, but I did go see it in theaters, and when I did, I was hooked. I loved everything about it. The characters are wonderful. The story is wonderful. And I didn't know that these How to Train Your Dragon movies were a series of books before they became movies. Great movie, great fun at the theater. I only saw it once in theaters, but I remember as soon as it came out on DVD, I went and bought it. So that is 2010. Okay, my best movies of the decade for the year 2011 are the very first Thor movie from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Then we have Captain America, the first Avenger, which is the first Captain America movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Zookeeper, starring Kevin James. And We Bought a Zoo, starring Matt Damon and Scarlett Johansson, which is based on a true story. And that movie was just an emotional but yet great, wonderful family movie. I loved everything about that movie. Okay, my best films for the year 2012. 2012 was a really good year for movies at the theater. I had a lot of fun. So the first one we're talking about is Expendables 2. And this is the sequel to the film Expendables from 2011. It again stars Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Terry Crews, Dolph Lundgren, Jet Li, and a new addition to the team of good guys, Chuck Norris. Oh man, it was great to see him in this movie. But the only downside to this movie is we did not get to see Chuck Norris throw any kicks or punches. That was a little disappointing. All he did was shoot bad guys. But I realize he's getting up there in age, but I was hoping he'd at least throw one kick and throw several punches to some bad guys. But oh well, it was still a great movie to watch in the theater. And now I own it, of course. The next one we have is Dredd. Now this is an adaptation from the comic book character Judge Dredd. And no, this one's not played by Sylvester Stallone like the one in 1995 was. This one is played by Carl Urban. And it was just a gritty, action-packed, in-your-face testosterone movie as well. The director really knew what he was doing, and Carl Urban really brought this character to life. There was talk for a little while of a sequel to Dredd, but it has never happened, and maybe one day it'll happen. I hope so, because that was just such a great film, and Carl Urban has expressed excitement and wanting to come back to that character. Then we have the next one, which is The Impossible, starring Naomi Watts, Ewan McGregor, and a young child, Tom Holland. Yes, that Tom Holland, Spider-Man. This is about the tsunami in 2004, I believe, that hit China or somewhere over there like that. Yeah, this was just a really emotional film, kind of a scary film, drama, about people who went through that and survivors and people who didn't survive as well. Yeah, it really makes you think, and it's based on a true story. Then we have the animated Rise of the Guardians. This is the team up of characters: Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, the Easter Bunny, and Jack Frost to save Christmas from getting destroyed by a dark, dark entity. And the animation is computer animated, but it's done so well. The characters are brought to life by such great voice talents, and it's just an all-around fun movie. There's been talk about this one as well getting a sequel, but so far we have not gotten a sequel to this movie. Then we have the third and final installment in the Dark Knight trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. And this one was not quite as good as The Dark Knight, but it came really, really close. And then we have the one that everyone had been waiting for, The Avengers, the team up with Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, the Hulk, Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Agent Phil Coulson, taking on Loki and the Chitauri army that invades New York. Okay, so here are the best movies of the decade for 2013. The first one is The Call, starring Halle Berry and Abigail Breslin. Next, we have The Wolverine, starring Hugh Jackman. This was a really good Wolverine movie. I really enjoyed it, and it really showcases how much of a beast and a monster that the Wolverine is, and Hugh Jackman does it again, and he just brings this character to life 100%. Next, we have Olympus Has Fallen. This movie was really, really good, but it kind of makes you think about things like this, and Like, could something like that actually happen? Could terrorists actually take over the White House? I mean, it's really scary to think about, in all honesty. Man of Steel. This is the newest incarnation of Superman, starring Henry Cavill. They are rebooting it to start the DCEU, and it was a very good film. Very gritty and kind of dark Superman, but really, really good nonetheless. Henry Cavill really delivers, and you believe that he is Superman. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I've watched it many, many times, and it's one of my favorites. It does not beat Christopher Reeve's incarnation of Superman, but it's still a great Superman movie and a great way to start off the DCEU. So for the year 2014, for my best movies of the decade, starts out with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. This is the second Captain America movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Then we have X-Men Days of Future Past. This is the combo movie that has the older X-Men characters and the newer X-Men characters. And this was such a fun movie, but it was also more of a, I would say, an emotional movie. There was more going on. There was still, comic book action, of course, but this was just mainly about the future and life choices and how things will play out if certain events happen. So this is more of an emotional movie, but it's still a really good comic book movie and probably one of my all-time favorite comic book movies. Then we have the very first Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and this is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I loved this movie. I liked all the characters. I thought Chris Pratt did an amazing job as Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, and Zoe Saldana as Gamora. I just thought they were all great in this movie. I loved everything about this movie. Then there's How to Train Your Dragon 2. That's the second movie in the Dragon series, which this is just as good as the first one. Not quite as good as the first one, but it still has a good story and just overall great animation and stuff like that. From my best movies of the decade for the year 2015, we have Jurassic World. So this is a return to the Jurassic Park saga. This movie was really kind of reinventing Jurassic Park and the whole Jurassic series. It does reference the first Jurassic Park movie, but that's about it. It doesn't reference the Lost World Jurassic Park or Jurassic Park 3, so it's kind of playing like they never happened or never existed, which in all honesty I think that's a mistake, but oh well, they didn't ask me. But this movie was good. It had some good actors and it had a pretty good solid story. There were a couple of things I didn't like about it. Overall, it was a really good movie. Just a fun summer blockbuster popcorn movie, and if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you seeing it at least once. Okay, then we have another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Ant-Man, starring Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, and Evangeline Lilly. Paul Rudd plays Scott Lang, Ant-Man, and this is just a great, fun movie, and I enjoyed everything about this movie. It's got some pretty good visuals as well. Then we have a darker movie that was directed by Michael Dougherty, called Krampus. So Krampus is like the opposite of Santa Claus. If you're bad, he'll come visit you, but you won't get presents. You'll get some really bad stuff. This movie just had an all-around great canvas, great look to it, a very dark tone. I mean, not super, super dark, but dark enough. It was just a fun kind of horror Christmas movie, and we don't get those very often, so that was a welcome treat. I really enjoyed this movie. Last but not least, for 2015, another MCU movie, Avengers Age of Ultron, which is the second Avengers movie. This one wasn't as good as the first one, but it had some really good sequences in it, and the story picks up after the events of Captain America, the Winter Soldier, with the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that stuff, and so what's taken place and what's to come in the future. But it's a really good movie. Not as good as the first one, but it's still a really enjoyable Avengers film. Okay, we are at the year 2016 for the best movies of the decade. And starting out in 2016, one of my favorite movies was Hacksaw Ridge. And it is about World War II and Private Desmond Doss, who goes into war without a weapon. He is a medic, and he saves countless lives and becomes a hero of the war. This was such a great movie. It stars Andrew Garfield, who used to play Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and it was directed by Mel Gibson, who did things like Braveheart, The Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, and who starred in many other films as well. Guys, this is such a wonderful, wonderful movie. Now, it's very, very graphic as far as the shots and scenes of war, but oh man, if you haven't seen this movie, you definitely need to see it, especially if you're a World War II history buff. I liked this movie. I liked this movie better than Saving Private Ryan, and that was a hard movie to beat, but this one beat it. That's how much I liked Hacksaw Ridge. Okay, next we have Sully. And if you don't know this story, this happened in 2009 about the Miracle on the Hudson when Captain Sullenberger had a bird strike in his plane, and he and his co-pilot had to land their plane on the Hudson River in New York City. Clint Eastwood directed this movie, and this is a very, very well put together film about that event and then the aftermath and the investigation. And it stars Tom Hanks, Aaron Eckhart, a lot of other well-known faces that we know. And then we have a David F. Sandberg film called Lights Out. This is one of his first films. It was initially just a short film, and then he turned it into a feature-length film. And man, was it one of the greatest horror movies I've ever seen in my life. It was so well done. And the kid actor in it, Gabriel Bateman, who went on to star in 2019's Child's Play as Andy. Oh man, this kid, when he grows up, he's going to be a major actor and a force to be reckoned with. He is so good in this movie, as is everybody else, but he steals the show, as he did in several of his other films. Then we have a story that I'd always wanted to see told, but I didn't ever think we'd get to see it until now, and that's Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, this isn't one of the episodic Star Wars films. This is kind of branched off into its own film, but it's the story of the stealing the Death Star plans. And this was a very, very gritty film. I've never seen a Star Wars movie as gritty as this, but it was so good. We see the return of Darth Vader, who is just an ultimate badass in this movie. I mean, you become afraid of Darth Vader again in this film. That's how much of a force he is in this film. This is just a very well put together film. Gareth Edwards did one heck of a job directing this film, so my hat's off to Gareth Edwards. Well done, sir. Then we have Captain America Civil War, which is the third Captain America movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I had a few problems with this movie. I liked it all around. It's not my favorite Captain America movie, but the thing I had the problem with is I'm one of those guys, I like the heroes, and I don't like to see the heroes turn on each other and start fighting each other. To me, the heroes should always be working together, no matter what the situation. You know, the greater good should come before egos and past history of events that happened a while ago. And, you know, so I have a love-hate relationship with this movie. And then, last but not least, in 2016, we had Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This movie got a lot of hate, and I didn't understand why. Yeah, it was a little jumbled up. It was kind of a mess, but if you watch the Ultimate Edition, it really makes up for the theatrical edition. The Ultimate Edition is a lot better, but I like the theatrical edition as well. This is the very first time in the history of cinema that we have ever seen a live-action Batman and a live-action Superman on screen together. You know, this is kind of like Captain America Civil War in the fact that our heroes should not be fighting each other. They should be working together. You'll find out the reason why that's happening when you watch the movie. Zack Snyder did a heck of a job with these characters and introducing Wonder Woman. I wasn't too keen on Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I thought they could have picked a better Lex Luthor, but, you know, that wasn't my choice. But I mean, all in all, Eisenberg was just doing what he was told to do, and for that I give him props. But I love this movie. Like I said, it gets a lot of shit, but you know what? I'm a DC Batman and Superman fan, so I loved this movie. 2017. 2017 was a real fun year at the movies for me. I had a blast at the movies this year. So starting out with, we have the live-action remake of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. This movie was such a welcome treat. I remember the first trailer I saw for it, and man, when I saw it come on screen, oh, I was just dying to see that. I couldn't wait till tickets came on sale so I could go buy a ticket to it. I saw it twice in theaters. That's how good it was. It follows the same storyline as the animated does. And it's just beautifully put together. The music, the look, the characters, everything about it was just spot on, 100%. My favorite character from the animated and the live action, it was the candle guy, Lumiere. And in this one, Ewan McGregor plays Lumiere, and man, does he knock his performance out of the water. He is so good as Lumiere and so funny. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this movie and watching that character. It was just so much fun. So Beauty and the Beast, the live action 2017 remake. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. Okay, next we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This one is more about family than anything. So Peter Quill and the Guardians, Groot, Rocket, Gamora, Drax, and Mantis and Nebula are pitted against Quill's father, which is some sort of deity or god or something like that. And he has his own planet. And so we find out some things about him, and Peter literally has to get rid of his own father, but we really see who the real father is in this story. And one thing about this movie, you really see the Guardians become best friends, and at the end, a family unit together, that they love each other and would do anything for each other. This film utilizes color so well in its canvas. The canvas is beautiful with just all kinds of different colors, and the lighting and just the look of the film is just amazing, even more so than the first one. But as far as story goes, the first one is much better story. Okay, next we have Baywatch, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah, I know. The reason I went to watch this is because I was a fan of the TV show Baywatch with David Hasselhoff back in the day. And so I wanted to see a new Baywatch and see what they did with it. And I thought it was really good. It was really funny with a lot of sexual humor and some bad language and stuff like that. But it was hilariously just laugh out loud funny. I had such a great time at the movies with this movie. Then I went and bought it on Blu-ray. The only downside to this movie is we don't get the famous theme song from the TV show I'll Be Ready by Jim Jameson. I mean, it's nowhere to be found in the movie. The only place we find it is if you bought the Blu-ray and DVD. It's the song that plays on the Blu-ray or DVD menu. So yeah, that was a little disappointing. But anyway, so yeah, Baywatch. Power Rangers. This is the Lionsgate Studios rebooting the Power Rangers franchise, specifically the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, into a movie franchise. And this first movie was a welcome treat and something that I had been wanting for a long time. However, this movie did not get the box office earnings it should have gotten. There was a lot of backlash on it because people said the movie took way too long getting to the scenes where the kids don the Ranger outfits. But I liked it because they took their time and really developed these 5 kids and gave them great character backgrounds. That way, whenever they do morph for the first time, we care about these kids and we know them and we're with them along for this ride as they become the Power Rangers and use their Zords and their abilities to defeat the creatures or creature that Rita has brought to life in order to steal the Zeo crystal from underneath the city of Angel Grove. It was a very kind of gritty looking movie, but the way it was shot, it was very real. It was a little bit dark, or not too dark. Very not lighthearted, but not too heavy either. It falls somewhere in the middle there. And this, according to director Dean Israelite, was supposed to be the first of 6 Power Ranger movies that was going to be in the works. But now, after what happened and this not making the money it should have, I don't know if the 6 Power Rangers movies are going to happen. I hope they do, but since it's taken this long to get things off the ground and running and get news about a sequel out, it's probably not going to happen. But I really enjoyed this Power Rangers movie. It just brought me back to my childhood and I loved everything about it. So yeah, if you have not seen this Power Rangers movie and you were a fan of Power Rangers growing up, I think you'll like this movie and you should give it a try. Then we have The Book of Henry. This one was an all-around emotional but yet great family story. It tells the story about a single mother raising 2 boys, and after losing one of her sons, finds a notebook of his on steps on how to rescue a young girl who's being abused by her stepfather. And this was just such a well put together film. I loved it. It's, like I said, it's a family story, but yet it's a drama and kind of a thriller film. So it kind of mixes everything in together. So yeah, a welcome treat in 2017, The Book of Henry. And last but not least, yeah, I'm going to get shit for this one, but I don't care. I'm just going to tell you, I thought it was a great film. I loved everything about it. So please don't judge me. Justice League. Yes, I loved Justice League. I do hope that there is actually a Snyder cut out there. I would love to see a Snyder cut. But if not, then I'm happy with this film. This film was everything I wanted it to be and so much more. I thought it was better than the original Avengers, to be honest. I know I'm going to get shit for that, but oh well. So yeah, Justice League. For 2018, the movies that were the best, in my opinion, for 2018 are the horror movie A Quiet Place. This was a different kind of horror, but it was a very enjoyable horror. I liked it, and I thought it was very well done. The use of no sound was absolutely brilliant. It was almost like a silent movie, which that's hard to do this day and age. But man, John Krasinski, he pulled it off as well as his cast. So kudos to them. A Quiet Place. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. This movie I was unsure about. I thought, oh my gosh, we're getting another one of these. We already have the one with Jim Carrey in it. Why do we need another one? The Grinch. And this is a computer animated Grinch that has the voice talent of Benedict Cumberbatch. And I went ahead and went and saw this in the theater, and I'm so glad I did because I ended up loving everything about this movie. It's beautiful. The music is wonderful. The voice talents are great. The story is solid. And it's just a beautiful Christmas movie. I loved everything about it. Everything. And this past Christmas, I shared it with my family, my mom, dad, and brother, and they ended up loving it too. So, yeah, if you haven't seen the 2018 Grinch movie, check it out. It's worth it, I promise you. Halloween 2018. So this movie ignores all the rest of the installments in the Halloween franchise and picks up 40 years after the 1978 film. So this film is actually a direct sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween. Once again, we have Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. Michael has been incarcerated for 40 years after the first attack and once again escapes and comes back to Haddonfield to kill. And Laurie is hot on his tail trying to end him this time. And this movie was directed by David Gordon Green, and it is a fascinating Halloween movie and a great tribute to all the ones that came before it, but it's also its own thing, and it really works and really shows you what Halloween is supposed to be after all the misses and failures of the franchise. So yes, this movie is great. It's acted well. It looks great. and it's just a fascinating Halloween movie. I saw it 4 times in theaters, and then when it came out, I bought it on Blu-ray and DVD. So, Halloween 2018. Last but not least for 2018, we've waited 10 years, and it's been building up for 10 years, and here is the very first part, Avengers Infinity War. Thanos is on his quest for the Infinity Stones. I'm not going to spoil anything if you have not seen it yet, which if you haven't, what's wrong with you? Awesome movie, great looking movie. There were a few things I would have liked to have seen in this film that aren't in this film, but the film in its entirety makes up for those mistakes. So, Avengers Infinity War, everyone. Okay, 2019, this is the last year in this decade for my best movies on my list. And to start out with is Breakthrough, which is a spiritual, faith-based movie that came out this year about a true story about a boy who fell through ice and drowned and then came back to life. So if you enjoy these kind of movies, this is one you will not regret seeing, because I loved this film. I loved it so much that I bought it, and my family loves it as well. Great film. Next, we have another faith-based movie about change and how change can be hard, but yet through faith, it can lead to great things. And that film is Overcomer. I saw this in the theater, and then when it came out on Blu-ray and DVD, I ended up buying it. And my family enjoyed this one as much as I did. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. This is the third and final installment in the Dragon series. A very nice film, a very heavily emotional film. Just a great way to wrap up this series. I love this series, and this movie was just as good as the first two, if not better. So, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Aladdin. This movie was really, really good. I enjoyed everything about this movie. The look of it, the actors, and especially the music. This live action remake was a lot better than that god awful live action Lion King remake that we got this year. Man, that one was terrible. But Aladdin is just a fun all around movie. Child's Play, that stars Aubrey Plaza and Gabriel Bateman as Andy Barkley and Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky. This movie was really, really good. I went into it not really knowing what to expect. I mean, I had seen all the other Chucky films, but I knew that they were redoing it, so I was kind of iffy on it. But oh man, I freaking loved this movie. One of the best horror films of this decade. Like I said in another film that he was in, Gabriel Bateman is such an awesome, awesome actor. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with when he gets older. He knows how to act. He knows how to bring emotion. He knows how to act. He's so good at it. But yeah, this movie was wonderful. I can't say enough about this movie. Just as good as Lights Out or Halloween from this year. So great job from this film, Child's Play. Avengers Endgame. This is the final Avengers movie in the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in these first 10 years of this studio. And Avengers Endgame picks up exactly where Avengers Infinity War leaves off. It tells the story of the Avengers doing a heist and going back in time to get the Infinity Stones to snap their own fingers and bring back everyone that Thanos snapped away, and then hopefully getting revenge on Thanos for doing what he did. This movie has action, sci-fi, adventure, fun, excitement, thrilling moments, but it is very emotional in several different parts. It has you crying at certain different parts of the film, and I can't say enough about this film. The story, the visual effects, the acting, the overall movie is just to me, it's like one big love letter to the fans, and it's a great way to end this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and probably my top movie of 2019. If not, it's the second. Avengers Endgame. Okay, everyone, this is it. These are all my favorite films, and in my opinion, the best films of this past decade. Now, just to let you know, these are just my opinions. These don't reflect anyone else's opinions but mine. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I enjoyed making it. It took a lot of time for me to figure out this whole list, but once I did, I had just tremendous fun making this video. And stay tuned because I'm going to do a worst movies of the decade video after this one. So thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and go down to the bottom of the video and click the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I have new stuff posted. Also, be sure to give my video a like and give me some comments on some of these movies. Did you like some of these movies? Did you not like them? Do you like the movies that I chose? Or would you have chose something different? I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. So again, thank you so much for watching. Good night. God bless. I love you guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.